the in-person ones, that they are kind of all together. You're welcome. So let me get these people in. So if that's what's gonna happen, I can show you later how to access them. But I thought, you know how we went to the site, we went to download all the class files here for the class into the class handouts. Do you remember that portion? Were you here? The first day. Yeah, okay. So, but the first day, I sent an email. After the first day of class, I sent an email. That email had a list of links of how to get to the class files, how to get to the recordings, how to get to this, how to get to that. So that second email has links to a lot of information, okay? Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Bud. Hi, Ed. March 8th. Okay, that's a good, thank you for saying that. All right. So, hi, Barbara.
Hi,
Oh, you're online today instead of in person.
I'm still having vertigo. I didn't want to drive.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I'm glad you're fine. You're online. So, so these people who are here that you see online have been taking my online classes forever. And so I didn't do the whole intro to how to take the class online because they just knew it. All right. But if you need to attend online, or if you can't take a class, then yes, you can go to the class handouts. And let me just show you really quickly, Simar, if you go over here to the class handouts, and the shared drives, there's always this file at the top, Zoom class recording links. And when you open that up, there's the recordings of the first and second day of class, okay? But you can't just watch the recordings, because if that's all you do, then I have to drop you, because you need to be positive attendance. You need to be in person here or there for the class, okay? All right, so what's your question?
Can we access the Friday class from here too?
The Friday class is online only.
Oh,
The digital design techniques class, you mean?
yeah.
The one that is the one that is happening right now, that one's online only.
Oh,
There's no in person. He was wanting to come in person to that one. I'm like, no, that one I teach from home.
so the office is closed right now, right? I can't go in.
No, it's not closed. No, it's not closed. You can go get a form, but the class is full, so I need to sign a form to let you sign in if you try to sign in. We've already done 2 classes or one of those. I've done one of those already. So yeah, you can join us this Friday. And what I can do is remind me, email me, tell me that you've joined, and I'll send you you can't access the class files until you're registered. Once you're registered, automatically the shared drive pops up in your pipeline. But that pipeline can only be accessed by people who are officially registered, right? Because it's internal. Once you register for the class, then you will see the same folder that I just showed you for, you'll go to shared drives and you'll have 2. You'll have this one and you'll also have the digital design techniques, which when you open, then over there, you'll see when you open this up, that's the recordings for the one class that we had for digital design techniques, okay? All right. So yeah, go ahead and get a form from them and I'll sign it. And well, right now we're starting with this, so go ahead and, I mean, you're gonna stay for this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so open up Photoshop and get yourself set up for that. And then during break, you can go get a form. Although you're right, they do close. Oh, did they close? I said, no, they're open, but you're right, 5:45. Run now to see if they're still open. But I forget that I was just there at 5:30. They were there, but
I'll be back.
it might have closed. Yeah. All right. So
Having trouble logging. Can I go back into?
you
I'm
can,
trying to set up my password.
at the top,
Sorry.
you don't put type in about you put any in the.
Where is that?
That's the main thing. Okay. So I was just saying, and I don't know if you guys heard when I was explaining, I believe I wasn't yet, what, you guys who are online, I'm sharing my screen right now. If you didn't hear it, I was explaining how on Friday, I'm teaching online digital design techniques, but that when that one finishes, after that, I'm teaching, producing a digital newsletter, and then after that, producing a digital magazine. And it's closed? Okay, so you have to come back. Yeah, that's what it was. So you have to come back. You have to grab a form, or you can email me. I'll email you a form. I have to sign it. They have to send it soon so that it's ready for Friday. Otherwise, you can't get class files. Okay. So I just wanted to say those two classes are in person, the Producing a Digital Magazine and Producing a Digital Newsletter, but that given the absolute need, and if we don't talk too much about it. Hold on. All right, so back to sharing my screen. We are going to be delving into stuff that's just much more focused straight on Photoshop for the web. To last week, the last classes, we were just dealing with how to work with Photoshop, period, right? And there's so much more. So please take the Photoshop classes if you want to learn a lot more about Photoshop. But we learned some really useful techniques that have to do with converting a photo from a basic flat file into a layered file by using adjustment layers and also modifying the masks to separate something from its background, or to just change only portions of the photo. Okay, so that was the whole masking technique. You guys did pretty well. You learned, you did a pretty good job on your photos here. And then we talked more about how to modify our brush. And then we went into this last one where we were able to put multiple, over here, we have multiple different layers that give us access to multiple different changes and stuff like that. What we're gonna do now so now I'm gonna stop this share. So if anyone hasn't posted yet and you did do the work, please do screenshots and post them. I'm going to go back to Bridge now. And we're going to begin to explore more the conversation about, there's two things that I want to work with in the next couple of days. We're going to talk about how to process a photo size-wise in order to have it be good for going on the web or any screen. Because maybe you're not doing a web. When I say the for web design is so reductive because it's not just for web design, it's anything that goes on screen. So for example, Manuel just is showing, and this is typical. I have so many people who come to my classes that are artists who need to show their images to a museum, to a show, to see if they get accepted. And so they have to do that. Those people are going to look at your photos on screen of your oil, watercolor, sculpture, whatever. And so you still need to preset that photo ready to be viewed well on screen, for example. So it's beyond just for a website. And usually when that happens, if you are, his example is a very typical example I've seen so many times. They say you need to send a photo that is this resolution, this size, this color, profile, these settings, and you need to just know how to do that, right? So that's a bit what this is all about. That said, when it comes to any place that you're going to put photos in, you need something like that. You need something like that information. Let me see it really quickly. I can pick up that email that you sent me, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Let me see. Manuel, not Manuel. Okay, submittal. One of your links didn't work for me, by the way. Yeah, it's okay. So here it is. The image specifications call for copy. Okay, so I'm just, this is all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a note, so I don't need to be here, and I'm opening a notepad. Let me just put it in here. Okay, so let me, I need to reshare this because you guys aren't seeing what I'm sharing. Okay, so now you guys can also see this. Okay, so this here, and let me just make it much bigger. Oh, why can't I on this one? This is so weird. Okay, I don't know why it's not letting me do it bigger. Okay, I don't know why it should be letting me. This whole thing is dead. No, this is a notes, but all of these are grayed out. I don't, never mind. The whole point is, look, it says, hopefully you can read it. This is the specifications that he got. File type, JPEG, mode, RGB, resolution. In his case, they asked for 300 DPI, pixel, minimum 1,000 pixels wide or tall, file size, max, file name, and then they say how you need to name the file. First the name, then the artwork, then .jpeg, and they want it, that's it. That's the request. Now, this is very typical for any time you need to submit your photos, for example, for a web page. This happens to be to get his art into a, is it a show,
Yeah,
a
it's
gallery,
an
a
online
museum,
exhibit.
and it's online exhibit, okay? So it's gonna be on a website, which is interesting. They probably want a 300 DPI, they probably want to be able to put it in a catalog or a postcard.
They say that at some point they issue a catalog that you can buy.
Okay, so there's gonna be a
Download.
catalog, which is why they're asking here for the 300 PPI. Notice that it says DPI and not PPI. We're gonna talk about that, but this is dots per ink versus pixels per ink, okay? So that, I'm not gonna spend too much time explaining here because that's something I talk in digital design techniques because it's about paper, dot of ink per page, but when it is only about the web, it's PPI, pixels per inch, because that's our end product is going to a web page. Now, whenever you get a request for a photo for a website, for a web design, you will have things like that. You will be told what specifications you need. And something that doesn't seem to occur to people, but it is so, is that even if you're putting a photo up for, say, Instagram or Facebook or something like that, there are specifications. So say if I go Facebook specs for photos, for example, then if you go over here, Facebook has a post, and ideally you would go to the ones that they themselves say or they themselves do. Other people have a lot of information too, but so say that I go here to this one and it's in Facebook recommended minimum inch pixel requirements across placements. And then there's all these different places in, it says Meta, not really Facebook, the company Meta that also owns Instagram and Messenger. So any of those. As a company, you would have a photo in your feed, a photo in the name where you're putting an ad, the marketplace where you're having your thing of stories, and all of them, if you look, have a different recommendation. So if you've been using Facebook, Instagram, any of those, just by selecting a photo on your phone and posting it, because that's what most people do, the Instagram itself is resizing, remodifying your photo to post it. Which to post the photo of, oh, look at the beautiful clouds that I saw today at the beach, that's fine. You don't need any more. But if you are the holder of a Facebook page and you handle it, like you are the person who publishes a Facebook page in a business Facebook page, or through Instagram, you sell your designs or stuff like that. You want to be able to have that photo be the best it can be. And when you go to the page of your store or of your place, like you're an artist and people can go to your page and they can see all your art, not just your Facebook post, but your art. You want them to be looking as good as possible. So you could have a blog, you could have a website, you could be putting your photos on Etsy to sell, or you could be going to a museum. So it's not like many people are going to be web designers, For all of these things, there's a special thing. So if it's for Facebook, it says that it should be 479 by 246. This is the feed, right? When you just post updates, like, oh, on the walk today, I saw a beautiful cloud formation. So there will be a number of pixels that is minimum, and then one that they recommend in this case. So they recommend 1,000 by 1,300 pixels for the feed. For the right column, which is where you do the ads, 1,200 by 1,200. You head down to Instagram stories, and they recommend 1,000 by 19, which is very different than what they recommend for a Facebook feed. See that? So I'm just showing you this here, but you can do this with just about any place or publication if you go to their information. So here's Messenger Story. Messenger Stories, that looks similar to Instagram. Look at that.
What's a feed?
For the inbox. Okay, so you have to go into the specs. And when I do this class for digital sign techniques, I'll say there's specs for the right way to sign a postcard or threefold brochure. Everything has specs that someone has to give to you, right? Unless you're designing your own sculpture, you make up whatever you want. But when you're trying to fit into a way, you design something to send in the mail that's the wrong size, you might end up paying 3 times more to send that in the mail than if you had checked what the USPS guidelines are for sending that in the mail, right? So anyway, you need to find out the specs. And then once you know the specs, you can go into Photoshop and adjust your photo in such a way that it can be used for whatever purpose you have. So we're going to go ahead and head into Photoshop and, head into Bridge and I've started a little bit that conversation of how do I modify this to go on the web? And then once the photo is ready to be on the web, then we're going to begin to work a little bit with something that a lot of people who use Facebook haven't used, but in Illustrator, we have here. In Facebook, let's go this away. Let me just open anything here that we're doing. Is it going to open from there? It's not recognizing it because I changed the file name. So let me open it from here. Okay, so this photo that we did, I think the first day, is set in a canvas. The canvas is the size of this photo. Now, the size of that photo is based on when it got shot, right? However many pixels that camera could collect with its sensors, with whatever settings you have, and it's kind of fixed in size. Those are the pixels you have. At 100% of zooming or whatever, you can see if it's good quality or not. Here we're seeing at 16%, but this size of what size this photo gives you is malleable depending on what needs you're going to have for it, right? So you can make it be as big as it has a limit for print, as big as it can be made for print is limited by how many pixels it has. But then if you want to make it for web, there's virtually no photo, or there's very few photos that aren't possible to be published on the web. Because even the oldest digital phone photo that existed I might be exaggerating here, but I think even the first digital cameras, as old as fewest pixels that they could get, are going to be enough to be able to put that photo on the web. So in Photoshop, what you have is not just a canvas, but when you notice that when I go here in like the graphic design, there's this new icon right there that you don't have when you're in photography. Remember that in photography, you have certain things, and in the other workspaces, you have in others. And when I took you to the graphic and web, this one there appears, which is artboards. Now, artboards are a tool that's been there forever in Illustrator that has not existed in Photoshop up until a few years ago. If I am in the photography mode again, which I just switched to photography, it's been there, but it's under the move tool. You need to click and hold, and there's the artboard tool. But if you're in the graphics and web, it appears there as important. And what the artboard tool is something that we're going to use to get different versions of something. So on a web page, on a web design, what you're going to want is the possibility of having something be many sizes. So right now I'm just talking for a bit, so pay attention, but then we're going to get to it. But here's an example. Do I have it here? I think this is the one.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm going to open this for a second here. I think I have another one that's better, but. All right. Turn on that. Okay, so this is an example, and we're going to end up doing a little bit of work on something like this. But this is an example of 3 different versions of this photo in 3 different artboards of this web page. So the first one, if I'm going to go get bigger, imagine that this is probably what you would see if you open this page on your desktop. And when you want to go and see, you know, the rest of it, now we've all been trained kind of to start scrolling down. That has to do with how we design websites now. In the past, you would click on a page and move to the right. Now we only go down. So say that's the website, and that's how it looks on your web page. If you open that, say on an iPad, which has less space, notice that here we have space to put all the photos, to put all these little links up there. And sorry, over here on a smaller, maybe on a phone tipped sideways, or on an iPad, a mini iPad, or anything like that, then we can't fit those. So we fit a smaller photo or less of the photo available, but we still have space for all of these icons up there, short form. And then we have 2 at a time, and these are designed like in blocks. And when you get to the coding class, and you'll understand, I'll explain much more in detail, that kind of stuff. And then you get down to this one, that's how it looked there. And this is how it looks here. So the pineapple here had to be lying down, and here it has to be standing up. So you're actually creating versions that are different for each use. And then we go down here, and then we go down there. And then we go, this is what it would look like on a phone. Okay, so you would see only a piece of that pineapple. You see how we don't have all these icons there. You just have a little menu here, which is kind of understood to be that if you click on that, you would have all the little, like if you sub-click on this, it would give you the choices of our farm, tours, shop, connect, and then everything kind of goes down, down, down. And you end up having the same information, but you have to kind of keep scrolling down on your phone to get to it, right? So this is an example of responsive design. Now, beyond the whole coding and all of that, which I'm not about to do right now, what first thing I want to say is that this is able to be done because this was done in 3 different artboards, okay? So, hello? I'm having a pictures crashed for a second, so let me go back and open it again. So let's try this again. All right, so if you look over here, I'm going to close these up. There's 3 things here, which aren't really layers, they are artboards. And I'm going to turn the eyeballs on, and this is the artboard that holds all the design for one version, another version, and another version. So it's 3 versions of the same web page. And in Photoshop, you're not going to turn this into a web design. I mean, there is a way, but it's not really it's not a good way. But what you're going to do is you're going to do the mockups. And this would be a mockup of how you want it to be. Well, this is beyond a mockup. This is already when you're like, okay, so showing it to your client. But it's not yet usable. You can't click it. It's not a website. But you're talking about, well, should I put this there? Should I put it there? You're just doing. And instead of having to create 3 different files and bring everything each time, you have all of the assets, all of the raw source materials once, right? And then you just, it shows up in different places. But you don't have to have 3 files to, and then what if you want to change, you know, from blue to yellow, then you can just change this from blue, no, it's yellow, right? From yellow to blue, and you can change it across the board at the same time. You go to the client and they go, yeah, I don't like yellow, make it pink. Then you can change it all at the same time instead of having to make all your modifications across 3 different files and they can look different or whatnot, right? So this is the example of artboards, which only existed in the past in Illustrator. And as I said, all these programs have overlaps and they each have something that they do the same or better. And then the other program kind of adopts it, you know, and in a way they become more similar. Anyway, so the whole artboard concept is one that would never be shown in the photography type version of Photoshop. So we're going to work with that a little bit. I'm going to close that now. But first we're going to do some resizing of our photos to have them ready to be put in those web pages. Okay. So, I see that your hand is up, Barb.
Never mind. Thank you, but
Okay.
it's
Whenever you
it's
remember,
okay.
whenever you remember.
Well, when posting on Facebook, what you were saying is like posting on Facebook, you must use the right pixel size for the application within Facebook.
If you're gonna post, when you, let me just, I would have to sign into Facebook and I don't
Well,
have.
no, you don't have to. I don't even go to Facebook.
What I'm
I
trying to
just,
say is, but the whole point is, I'm saying, when you have, does anyone use Instagram or Facebook here, at least one of those two? When you go to see the maker of the page, if you go check me out, I have a page that's me. I have a page that's you, same for Instagram. Like you say something about yourself and then you start posting and you can just post, you know, I had eggs for breakfast, or you can post your art. But if they go to see who you are, who's that Linda person, who's that Julia person, who's that Diana person, there's a photo that you put up there, if you gave one. There's a big like poster image that you can put, there's all these images, and everything I just read to you are the names of all these different photos. And if you want to put the best portrait in the little inset, that's the photo of you, it tells you what size it should be. Otherwise, and let me be clear, anything you give Photoshop, they'll resize it and they'll make it fit. And the difference is if we have control over how to make it look best, or if they do. Or also, maybe sometimes the photo has to be long, wide, and short. And if you put a photo that's kind of regular photo format, you'll only see the middle portion of it, right? So they just tell you this is the proportion so that you can prepare it to be that size to fit better. And so that's what those specs are. What's the best spec for a photo that's going to be in your feed would be, feed is what you those posts that you send out, that's the feed. But the other photos are parts of that page that says who you are. Okay. And that's the difference. Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. So, I had told you for homework, you had to read this handout. Where was it? The new pixels, image size, image resolution in Photoshop. This guy, okay? Did anyone get a chance to read it? All right.
Is it the same as the one 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I read it then. I have got it in a notebook.
Did I say it in this class?
Yes, you did.
I'm not making you wrong if you did.
Photoshop class, you told us, and
I had you do it for the Photoshop class, and I
printed
know I have digital design techniques. Did I not tell you guys here? Okay. All right, then, forget it. But I do want to teach you that today, so I'm going to deal with that. Now, this one is overarching. It talks about how to do things for print, but it explains pixels really well. But there's another one here, image resolution and print. Oh, I'm in the digital design techniques. That's why I was like, wait, why would you have that one? Shared drives. Oh, because I was demoing that for you. Photoshop for web design. Okay. So then over here, I didn't, image optimization Photoshop for the web. Okay, so this would be another one that I want you guys to read. So image optimization for web. So this is an article that I'd like you guys to consider reading. I'm going to explain it, but how to resize images for web with Photoshop. Here's another one. Okay, so this would be a bit more specific to you. The new, this one, the one that I said that you did, that you told me now I didn't tell you to read. That one that's all about print and it's more generic about resizing. But for you guys, let's have you for sure do this one for next week. That said, I'm gonna work with this today. So you know, it'll be kind of reinforcing what we teach today. Normally I like to have people read it ahead of time so that you have an idea of what we're going to talk about. But that's okay, because I explained it all anyway, so that's fine. But go ahead and think about reading that one to support that information. And then these two here, okay? Anything has to do with image optimization, Photoshop, web, and that kind of stuff. All right. So then it's good to know that if I didn't tell you guys that I'm starting from scratch for this conversation. So let's go ahead and in Bridge, let's go ahead and click on this little guy right there. Oh, it's not opening yet? Is there a problem there, Linda?
It started doing that.
Oh, that's bizarre. Okay, is it stuck? Has it been there for a long time?
No, it's.
It is moving forward?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that you can watch this portion and then you can open. All right, so this here is a raw file. I haven't got a chance to talk to you much about raw or not. Right now, just keep this in mind as that it's a file that has many more pixels. And if I look over here, this is a smallish raw file, but it's got 3,400 by 5,000 pixels. As opposed to this one that is raw, not raw. And trust me when I say it's raw because of the extension or whatever. So that's like about, yeah, 3,500 by 5,000. And then this one, which is not raw, is 4,000 by 3,000. Really not, I mean, it's different, but it's not hugely different than the numbers of pixels up there, right? Kind of. And yet look at the size, not in pixel size, but in file size. This is 3.2 megabytes. And this one is 22 megabytes. Way bigger in file size, space that occupies in my computer, let's say. Does that make sense? Even though pixel amount is not that completely different. I'm going to click on this little guy. And again, here I have 4,000 by 32, 2 megabytes. Again, maybe a little bit smaller, but again, only 2 megabytes. I'm going to head over to this one, and it's got about much less, about half those pixels, 2,000 by 1,200, and it's 1.27 megabytes. Now, the reason I'm saying all these things is because amount of pixels doesn't necessarily translate into how big that file is as far as how much it weighs, how much space it occupies in your computer. This has nothing to do with inches or anything like that. Actual size of how big it will look like on your screen does have to do with pixels. But what matters for going to the internet, for going to anything that's going to be up in the that it's going to be viewed by someone else on a screen, be it a phone, be it a pad, be it a desktop computer, be it a laptop. What matters the most is that the file size be really, really, really small. The smaller, the faster it's going to download. Did I spend a little bit of time talking about this, the first class, speed of download? Because I know that you guys, your class started at the same time as my digital design techniques class, and over there I mentioned it a little bit, not much, but okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm not overlapping or remembering wrong, because for example, I thought you had told you to read that. So if you, the maker, the publisher of this image, put it online or send it to the web designer who's going to put it online, If it takes, 10 minutes to load, and I'm exaggerating because at this point, nothing takes a minute to load, that's fine. You have all the time in the world. But when the person who calls up the website to see your image, it has to get down really quickly. It has to download immediately. There's no wait time. People just do not wait for photos to download at all. I don't know, it used to be 3 seconds for the whole web page to make sense to them before they leave. But if it's just the one photo, it's got to be even faster than that. Remember in the past, we used to have a lot of question marks next to photos that weren't coming down. Now mostly a question mark is going to be there if the photo is missing. But what you might see is like maybe there's a progressive appearing where it becomes kind of blurry and then it appears. Other times you just get like an X. There's different things that you get until it finally appears. Most of the time, photos just appear. And it's because the photos have to be modified in order to be smaller in final file size. The smaller, the faster they download. Okay. So again, it's not about pixel size. With these two next to each other, you can see the pixel size is very different. But this image,
My phone has a, when you want to email an image, it gives me a choice. either
Yeah.
in full size or
Yeah.
good.
yeah.
Could be 2 megabytes or else.
Yeah, the iPhone does that, and that's because email programs have a limitation on how many megabytes of files they can send. Different email companies for free, so to say, let you send only 10 megabytes total or 15 megabytes total, some 20 megabytes total, but you have to go by the lowest common denominator, because if I'm sending it to Linda, I don't know what company she's hired. And so I better send her 2 emails with 10 and not one with 20. But if you use the phone's send small, send middle, send large, which is what you're talking about, then it's the phone doing the process that we're going to do in Photoshop now, doing it for you, just like Facebook does it for you, or Instagram does it for you, which is fine if you just want to send an image just to have them see it. But if it's your art that you want them to see it at its absolute best, because depending on that, they're going to decide if they put you in the catalog or in the competition, you want to process it in Photoshop yourself to the best of your ability, right? Before you send it. And so that's what we're going to be doing, figuring out how we can get a photo to be still high quality. And yet with that high quality, we want to make sure that it is ready to be sent in the internet as small as possible, right? So over here, we're gonna go ahead and do that with this photo. So it's the one that's called Content Aware Fill and Scale, kind of after a coffee cup and before a little kind of rock. Now, this photo here is not even a JPEG. This is an HEIC. Anyone know what that is?
Apple.
Have anyone ever seen? Yes, so Rebecca's saying Apple. Barbara, is that the same hand or a new question?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's the same hand.
I just saw it and that's why. I used to have you guys in this monitor when I'd see you, but right now I just peeked at you and you're way back there. So I don't see you. Let me actually move this over here because there's so much stuff on screen. Oh, no, that's worse. Okay, I'll put you back in here. Hold on. I need to, you guys at home don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just making space to see you guys in here a little bit better. Okay, so I lost my track when I turned around to ask Barbara. HEIC, thank you. If you take a photo with a camera, any camera, for eons, the default has been that what pumps out is a JPEG. Did I talk at all about JPEG and compression yet? Quality, just teensy weensy bit. I like people who are only in this class because then that's the truth, right? Because people who've taken others, not remember if I did it before or after. Okay. So a JPEG is a kind of photo that is very versatile. The extension JPG is it's something that you, first of all, it's the format to use for the web. There's other formats that are necessary for different reasons, but that is the format you want for actual photos, photographs. There's other kind of imagery and other stuff in photos. And you can compress it to make it smaller. The best example for that I have is, I've never had one. I should one of these days, but the best I have is a Ziploc bag. But you know how you see ads for those big bags to put your winter comforter in, and then they go zoop with a vacuum cleaner and suck all the air out. So nothing has changed. That is exactly the same comforter. You haven't cut off half of it to make it smaller. The comforter and every one of its feathers is in there, but you've sucked the air out. You've compressed, it's gonna fit, you're gonna fit 10 of those in a cupboard instead of one. That's compressing. Now, if you leave that comforter compressed like that all the time, when you finally, like for 10 years or whatever, and you open it up, it just won't fluff anymore, right? It's losing its quality. But if you have it in compressed a bit and then not, it does better. Okay, so you lose some quality in photographs when you compress them. And the more you compress them, the more quality you lose, but you get a smaller and smaller file, which is what I said, the ultimate goal for the web page. You want to have as small a file as possible on the internet. And so there's a point where the photo begins to look too bad and you want to back off until you get the right size between quality loss and file size. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and double click and open this. Oh, HEIC. So Photoshop, sorry, we're going to use that photo, but back to what HEIC is. That's the JPEG. And Apple came up with a new format called HEIC, which I'm always bad at acronyms. Some of you guys are good at looking
High
up.
efficiency image compression.
I knew I could count on you, Ed. High efficiency.
And by the way, Apple didn't design it. They just use it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know who designed it. Thank you for that point. They adopted it. That's true. They adopted it for photos that you take with your iPhone. High efficiency image compression, right? You said? So it's also a compression format, but at least when you read about it, supposedly it affects the quality of the image less and gives you a chance to compress it more in comparison to a JPEG. But that's fine for the phone, but you wouldn't be putting an HEIC up on the internet. Although now there's even some browsers that can parse that, but for the most part, you want to turn it into a JPEG. Anyway, in fact, up until a few years, Adobe wouldn't even open it, Bridge wouldn't even open it, but now Bridge, you open it and it knows to open as a photo. So we're going to start with that one in particular because you'll see that no matter if you start with a JPEG or not, it's fine. Oh, and let me explain really quickly why this one is so big. This is when I mentioned really quickly raw file. A raw file, and this one here also is a raw file, and see it says 15 megabytes. A raw file is not compressed. When you photograph it, the camera does not compress it. So yes, the first compression that happens on your photo happens in camera. You shoot and it already gets squished by the camera. So a JPEG already has less material in it than if that same moment your camera had shot a raw file. And that's why it's so big. It comes in with everything, all of its pixels. So you can process it better, get a better image out of it, but it's huge. That means that I can still open this one, process it, and end up with a tiny little photo, but I have to then my export out of Photoshop as a JPEG. I'm going to compress it at that point, right? Anyway, but that's why some are so much bigger at the beginning. What's that?
Santi CR2 mean anything?
It's the name of my kid who shot this photo, Santiago,
Okay.
Santi.
But
All right.
JPEG. Or
It's
raw.
a .cr2. That's a Canon camera raw. Each camera manufacturer has their own extensions for the raw. So there isn't a thing called .raw. Rather, Canon's is CR2. This one up here is .nef, which is for Nikon. I think that's all I brought here. Do I have any other? I think that's the only two raw images that I brought here, Canon and Nikon. But there's, every camera manufacturer makes their own little extension for RAW versus everyone uses JPEG. And then, I don't know, you might know more about this, Ed. Does any other manufacturer use HEIC? Any other phone, do you know about, or is it just Apple?
There are a couple others. You know, the reality is HEIC happened because.
Double click it to open it up, by the way.
So JPEG is more than 30 years old.
Yeah.
And so HEIC was created by a consortium of manufacturers, but there are a few people that are using, I don't remember who it is.
Mm.
And I'll just point out for the people that are shooting with an iPhone, they can set up in their settings to do the most compatible mode, which means it will shoot in a JPEG rather than HEIC, and they don't have any conversion issues.
Yeah, but I think at this point, just about all the different photo manipulation programs accept HEICs and convert, you can open them and then convert them into a JPEG as export. What you can't do is export it as an HEIC to put it on the web, but you can import it in all these different formats. And then when I say export, I mean, you work on it in Photoshop, right? So actually, Pablo, we're gonna open this one, not the one you have?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, when we put it into Photoshop, this is what I call the master file. We open this, we edit it, we make it better, we do all the work we're gonna do. And then we say, okay, I can export this version to go to Photoshop to print in my brochure, this version to put in my frame on my living room window, this version to put on the website, this version to put on my gallery, right? So you choose, those are what I call about the export files, the ones where you make different versions, but you always start with the original layered, the original file that you've edited, either in Photoshop or in Lightroom or in whatever application you use to Photoshop to edit it. Then when it's ready to go and you like it, you have to export it. And depending on that, if you're going to compress it more, less, make it bigger, make it smaller, use whatever things you're going to need to do to make it work. Now, so this is the flat file, and it opened just like a JPEG would open. And in case you don't remember, let's just open I'm going to just open a JPEG, any JPEG. Let me open this one. And there it is. It's just one flat layer called background, and it's locked. No difference. So an HEIC does that same thing. Versus, I think I have over here this is the PSD that we worked on the other day. When I double click on that, it already has layers. So that's at this point the big difference. Okay, so let's assume that this photo is completely ready to go, which it isn't, by the way. But that's not the point. Right now, what I want to do is talk just about how I would work with it as far as size. Now, let's go ahead and check this photo out at 100%, because remember, I always told you, when you open a photo, what's the first thing you need to do is go to 100%. Who remembers how to get to 100%? 100% on zooming in like that, way down there. Command
Command
1.
one.
And hold down the command or control for people on Macs and PCs and tap the 1. And remember, this, I should have asked you first, looking at this photo, does it look, before you made it a command 1, look at it, does it look like it's in focus? Does it look like it's mainly that? And I'm going to say good quality means it's something different. Does it look like it's in focus? When you first opened it, did you think, oh, that's so blurry, out of focus? Probably not. It looks fine. When I go to 100%, then I hold down the space bar and start going down, and then I go, oh, something strange going on there.
Pixelating.
Yeah. Ah, what's that?
You're looking at it too big.
No, I'm at 100%.
I know, but it looks like it's pixelating.
Yeah. And so what's happening here, and I'm not sure what year this was taken. I'm trying to remember, but it almost looks like a painting, right? When you see it at percent. So go ahead and put it at Command 1, and then, and I'm gonna go Command 2 to go a little bit bigger so that you guys can,
Why does it show blank on X and 3024 pixels on Y? Above layers, the canvas.
I don't know, up there. maybe I-
Oh, 4,000, there we go.
So now I went 200%, which is just even more, but see how it doesn't even look like a photo? I'm gonna go back to 100%. But when we were down there, yeah, that's fine. That's a photo of a coast and a cloud and an ocean, but you had no idea if that photo was good or bad until we went to 100%. Now, this is important because ultimately, where and how people are going to see it also matter to whether you're going to be able to use a photo or not. And depending on the lighting and the situation and how old the thing was, I'm trying to remember, does this tell me? No, the information is not here. Well, it says 2018, but it doesn't say what created it. And this was an old iPhone that I had. Not only that, I don't even remember how old.
It's an iPhone 12 Pro.
Really,
Max.
this one? Where?
I'm not looking at it inside Photoshop.
Oh, okay. But it should be here. Why is it not?
Well, you're looking at my.
Oh, no, okay. Oh, okay.
72 PPI.
It's still, usually it says what phone took, if I open it, I could see inside, but usually it should be here in the metadata. I mean, I'll find it in Photoshop, but this is, so then I don't see here's latitude and longitude. This is by Vandenberg. We're in a train.
It was taken with your iPhone.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
thought
it
it was
was
an older
there.
phone. What's that?
It was there.
What?
It was there. Yeah, it says.
Oh, iPhone 12 Max, there it is. Couldn't, camera data, except, yeah, because I had this other one open up and I just wasn't looking at it down there. Okay, so there it is, camera data. So, looks like it's 2022, so then I'm wrong. This wasn't my old phone. Okay, so I'm not sure then,
This is the picture you took.
because that's not the quality an iPhone 12 would look like. It's true that it's taken from behind the window and you can even see the reflection of the window there of something that was outside a train. But you know how fast,
And someplace on there when you were going up and down, there was a 72 PPI. And
Yeah.
if it was only 72 PPI,
no, but that's got nothing to do with what I'm viewing right now. 72 PPI.
okay,
I could zoom into another photo that's 72 PPI. Let me give you. This phone photo is 72 PPI, and if I zoom into it, it's perfectly good quality.
Then you took this
Okay,
picture?
so yeah, what's that?
You took this picture?
Yeah. And so, let me go back into Photoshop. So I'm not 100% sure, other than speed of the train going through. I was gonna say, because this was my old phone, but I have been shown that that's not true. All I can think of is because of the speed and
It's motion blur. It was moving.
yeah,
You only shot this at 1:14:56.
it's
Which
probably.
doesn't really matter on an iPhone because of different numbers, but yeah, it's motion.
I mean, to me, it almost looks like a painting. That's how fake it looks.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's probably,
I know.
it's almost like pretty as a painting, right? But it's definitely not in focus. Okay, so the whole point of why I'm showing you with this one isn't because of the quality of the front, but I did want to show you guys that something that looks fine at not 100%, you can't tell if it was good until you saw it 100%. And then that's when you go, oh yeah, 100%. Now, again, this was a very fast going train and behind a window with the light going through, and yes, obviously it was automatic, whatever the phone shot at, and it chose a very slow speed. So anyway, that's why it's moving. But there's no detail to capture on the sky, right? So if I zoom into the sky over here, That sky is about as smooth as it would be. It's actually a little bit blurry. And what I'm going to show you right now, we're going to do based on this gradient. This is just going to tell us what the quality is. See these little lines right there that are coming up in there? That's the reflection from the window. So inside a window, a train. Anyway, I just thought that was a fascinating cloud formation, and I just picked up a phone and shot. This was not meant to be a, you know, quality photo, or you wouldn't shoot from a moving train behind a glass. But it was kind of weird. It was just like this rolling bank of stuff coming up to us, and I thought it was cool. Anyway, now if this photo were to be considered for compression, it has two portions to it. This portion here, which is sky, which is a very smooth gradient. See that? Just look back, you go and you have different tones of sky, but it's smooth. Let's call it something that has no detail, without detail. Versus the moment you go into the ocean and the front, there's a lot of detail. Yeah, even the ocean has detail to be able to give the ripples and waters. And when you compress an image, you can compress it much more if the entire photo is detailed. But once you have an area that's smooth, that has no detail, like this gradient, you have to be much more careful, because the gradient very quickly shows you the bad quality of the compression. So say that I wanted to compress this photo. This one I could compress way, way, way smaller than I'll be able to compress this one because of that piece of the sky. Okay, so let's talk about what I mean by compressing. So first of all, the other place where you can see the data of the photo down here, it says 4,000 by 3,000, 72 ppi. You see that there? If I click on it, it gives me, it's kind of like that little summary that I had in the in Bridge. All right, and it tells me the resolution. It tells me it's RGB for that 4,000 by 3,000, 72 ppi. If I get a message like the one that Manuel got, this photo has to be sent as a JPEG. Remember, this was an HEIC. The mode they're asking for is RGB, which is not the same as web. For a web page, usually we use sRGB. But this was not requested for that, for a web page per se. They want 300 dpi. The minimum size they want is 1,000 pixels in the width or in the height. So neither one of the two can be smaller than 1,000. And the file has to be a maximum of 2 megabytes. Okay. Now, this is very generous, because if this were going onto a website, they would definitely want less than 1 megabyte. And less than 1 megabyte because, and let me really quickly show you, and for those of you who don't understand, megabytes, kilobytes is all the same. 1,000 kilobytes is equal to 1 megabyte. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay. So when I say 1 megabyte, that's 1,000 kilobytes, right? So 2 megabytes is 2,000 kilobytes. And once you get smaller than 1 megabyte, then you start with, 500 kilobytes, or et cetera, et cetera. And ideally, a whole web page, this is the goal for the whole web page. I don't have the best lighting, and this thing is broken. Yeah, the whole web page. So when I say the whole web page, how many photos did you see? Let me go rather quickly to that folder. No, that wasn't it. Pineapple. How many photos do you see in this web page? And this is one web page, you guys. It is one web page. All of it, not just the top. So I'm seeing one, the logo over there. I see a photo here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, some other pieces of art, 12, I'm gonna call illustrations also kind of part of photos, so 13, 14, not little icons, those are tiny. So there's about 12 photos in here. All of those together need to load up at the same time. So when we say that the whole web page has to be, 1 megabyte or less, that means that if we're gonna put 12 photos in this web page, they have to be less than 100 kilobytes each. Does that make sense? And still look good. So that's kind of the challenge. That said, it doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily need to have them be humongous. Anyway, so back to this one. So I just wanted to say it's every photo that's on the page, not the one. So the fact that for him, they're saying one photo has to be 2 megabytes, right? That's huge because that photo is going to be also from what you described printed, and that's why I went at 300 dpi. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to change this request, and what we're going to do instead, we're going to do I'm going to put it in the chat. Let's go in the chat here so you guys can get it also in the chat. We're going to have an image that's going to be let's say 2500, oh, not 2500 pixels minimum per side. How is it that the white are tall? And I'm going to actually ask for the photo to be, let's see, this photo can handle it. Let's say that I want it to be 150 kilobytes or less, right? Now that's a lot of pixels for a very small file. It doesn't need to be the only reason people say something like 300 dpi is if it's going to print. Otherwise, it doesn't say another number. If it's not going to print, it just won't say resolution. Some people still say resolution 72 for going to screen, but that's not accurate. And it's just out of long history of saying that, but it means nothing. And when we do more of this work, you'll see why. And then we're going to go into sRGB mode, which is for the website. Okay, so this is, and I'm going to put this up. You guys see it in the chat? Okay, so that's what we're going to try to get out of this image. So over here, it's telling us that it's 4,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels. And I can't see how big this file size is in all of this information. So there's either I can go back to Bridge and check really quickly, or I can go to this arrow here and just look at document sizes, for example. And I'm just showing you this as in another way to do this beyond going into Photoshop. And here it tells me that this is 34 megabytes. Does anyone remember what Bridge said? If I go to Bridge and I select this, it says 2 megabytes. See that? So how come Photoshop is telling me 34 megabytes? So a JPEG or an HEIC are compressed images. When I open them in Photoshop, and I don't know technically how to explain this more than to say they kind of expand into their own. And it's not that they're really expanding. If I were to save this file, I would have to recompress it to turn it again into a JPEG or a HEIC, which I don't see why I would ever save as an HEIC. I don't even think you can. So you can't go by this number there, okay, at this point. Just consider that number important only for when we're talking, and we won't do this here, but we'll go up to image size. This is only, see there, it says the same number. It says 34.9 megabytes. This window that I'm saying here, image size, this only matters if you're going to print, okay? I'm going to cancel, but I'm going to show you that it keeps showing you that number. If I were not to recompress this image, and turn it into something else. That would be a more accurate file size for this.
How
I'm
did you
gonna
get the
cancel, what's that?
30 How did you get the 30?
I'm saying we're not going there.
No, how did you get to 34.9 M?
Oh, over here, click on this little arrow that I believe started at document dimensions, I think as the default. And you go to the little arrow right next to it, right there, and you can read document sizes. Okay? Did that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. So, so what we're gonna do instead, and we're gonna assume that this is great, we've done, we finished, this is file, this is photos, ready to go. We want to export it to apply these settings to it. Barbara, is that a new question?
No, let me lower my hand.
I'll lower it, I'll lower it. I just didn't
Okay,
I think we both lowered your hand and thus we canceled each other out and we raised,
okay.
which is what happens when we lower hands, we raise them again. All right, so now instead we're gonna go up to File and Export. And from File Export, we're gonna go to Export As. Now, it's important to understand before I keep going for a second. You guys, you can sit at Export As and that's fine, but I'm backing up a little bit. If I go over here to the Save As, if I've done nothing to this image, right, which I haven't, I don't have layers or anything like that. And I want to save this as whatever else I want to save it as. I have a whole bunch of choices. This was an HEIC. I could save it as a JPEG. I can save it as a BMP, a bunch of other kind of stuff. So this is a photo that I just opened as a HEIC, and I can resave it. I highly recommend a PNG, anything I want to, just about everything that is able to be resaved is available here. Now, the moment I say that I create, let me just give it some levels here, whatever. I'm just going to give it I had close this up. I'm just going to give this a change, whatever. This is before, this is now, whatever. It's just a change. If I go now and then try to save as, look at how few choices it gives me. And it's the same photo. Why would it not give me one or the other? Because the other one was kind of like a conversion versus just about anything else I do to this photo, unless if I completely flatten it and lose all my changes, you cannot save as a JPEG. A lot of people say save it as a JPEG, but those words save as apply so rarely because a lot of people made a huge mess. I don't know if that's why, but I'm going to say that from teaching this and working with people, a lot of people used to make these huge messes with these photos because they would grab this photo, make it really different in style, size, dump pixels, and then instead of remembering to export a separate thing as a JPEG, they would save it and lose everything they had. So now you can't even do that. It's not giving you that choice. It can only save in the 3 versions of possible files that can hold layers. That's all you can do. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. I don't necessarily need this to have anything like that. So when you go to export, and export means that it won't touch this image. It won't change what you have in this image. It's going to create a new one. So an export as does not replace this one. A save as replaces this one. An export as leaves this one as is, and then it creates a new file. So anyway, export as, you guys, as we're already here. This window, if it comes up really small for you or whatever, go ahead and make it big because, you know, you want to be able to see this file as big as possible, as big as you can. I'm going to make it big. And then over here, notice that it tried to fit my whole image in, and it fits right now, mine is saying 12%. But we know that there's no way we can tell. We're not going to be able to tell the quality of this photo at 12%. So this is a place where you could also move up +++ and move it up to 100%. Okay. And then you can kind of move it around like this. So this is another way. This is why I said also make it bigger. So everyone, go ahead and do this, by the way, this part, don't just watch me. Where you don't have to do this. You know, sometimes you can tell whatever the photo needs instantly. But if you didn't know, for example, what was happening in this image, because you hadn't done 100%, at the very least, you have to do that here. So I'm gonna go ahead and move it to 100%. Okay. So now, over here is the first thing I'm gonna read. It says file settings format. We don't want a PNG. A PNG is a format that we use a tub and design. But for a straight photo like this, we wouldn't want that because a PNG is going to end up being a bigger file than a JPEG because it doesn't compress the image. It does compress the image. Let me be clear. JPEG is what we call a lossy compression format. Lossy means it loses quality when you compress. Versus PNG is a lossless. Instead of saying it doesn't lose, it's a lossless format. It's still a compression format, but it doesn't lose quality the way JPEG will, but you end up with a bigger file. So you would only lose it when you truly need to. And when you truly need to is when you have transparency. When you have transparency around it. I'm gonna cancel because whenever I explain that, people don't really get what I mean, but let me say that this, I'm gonna remove the background. Say that this is what I wanted. See how it's got no background? If I wanna save this file with no background, because he's gonna just pop into the web page like that, and behind it, I'll see whatever the web page is happening. Then I have to save it as a PNG because that preserves that transparency. But JPEG can only be saved as a square or rectangular image, right? It doesn't have any transparency anywhere. So to preserve this transparency, if I were to export this as a PNG, that would work fine. Don't save that, but this one, sorry, close that one, back to this one. But in this case, there's no transparency anywhere. This is a straight photo. So back to export as. And so we don't want it to be a PNG. Move it back up to 100%. One more. So the choices I have is JPEG, PNG, or GIF. GIF or GIF, there's a little controversy of how to pronounce it. Don't worry, just go to JPEG. Now, this one is also a format we use in design. It has to do with like flat colors, like logos that are a flat blue. They don't have like tones or, things that are just like comics or cartoons that they don't have dimension, that kind of thing. That would be a very, very compressed size. So that would be the most compressed you want, but it definitely wouldn't work for an image that needs millions of colors like a photo does. All right, so we're choosing a JPEG. Let me move over here a little bit where you can see the sky to start with. So let's just do that. It's gonna be 100% is gonna be kind of small for this, but anyway, let's just go to the very far corner of the sky for now. Okay. And then let's move this up to high. High means high quality, thus the lowest compression possible. Basically, no compression if possible, right? It still is compression. You cannot not compress when you say it's a JPEG, but it is the least possible compression. And if I look over here, when I have that choice, if I were to save it right now as a JPEG at high quality, here it's telling me what size that file is going to end up being, which is
Even bigger than.
yeah, because we're compressing it less than how it came compressed. Remember it went up to 34 megabytes or something like that. And now we're recompressing it, but less. You shouldn't recompress JPEGs as JPEGs. When you have a photo that has layers because you've been modifying things, you should keep them modified. Let me finish this and then we're going to break. I know that some of you guys need that, but here we go. Oh, someone's joining us. Thank you. Hi, Sue. How are you? Oh, you can't hear me yet. Anyway, she'll hear me in a minute. Okay, so basically, we're nowhere near, right? The number that we need, which is less than 1 MB. Hi, Sue. I'm on the export as for a photo. You can just, I'll help you catch up later. So if we look at the specs, it says that we should have 2,500 pixels minimum wide or tall, meaning the biggest one, the smallest one, so to say, can only be 2,500. So the other one has to be bigger. So we don't want anything smaller than that in this case. So I would go to the pixels over here to change that. But first, I want to show you what happens just with compression. So right now we still have all of our 4,000 pixels. And now I'm going to show you, as I move this down in quality, keep an eye on this number. So this is like, okay, we're going to begin compressing it more down to 6. And look at how quickly it went to 2.9 megabytes. Then, sorry, to 6. Then I go down, next up is 5. And over here it says 1.6 megabytes. Then I go down to 4. We're already at 979 KB. So basically near to 1 megabyte, but we're nowhere near 150 KB. So as I keep compressing down, it goes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I get to my smallest one, and I'm still not at 115 KB, and I'm still at 300 and what does that say? 383.7. So it's still bigger than what I want. Now, look at my sky. What happened to it? It's an absolute disaster, right? This is so much compression. These are called JPEG artifacts. All this little stuff that's happening here is color banding. If you go to anything, if you had an edge, this is what's JPEG artifacts. Go to the edges and you'll see like all this little kind of squares and bizarre things. And here translates up here into just lines. We are basically saying, okay, I can't operate with millions of colors. So I'm going to start by, there's like maybe 2,000, I'm inventing blues in here. And to compress more, I'm going to have only 1,000. Oh, you want to compress any more? I can only go down to 500. Oh, you're going to still compress me? Well, I'm down to 10 tones of blue to represent this guy. And so you start having this thing called banding because that's what it needs to do. It needs to take away information. So as you can see, it's rarely can we ever go to low quality, except for, let's head down to this part. Does this look much worse than before? And this is where I wish I had a good photo that doesn't have this, but I've entered to say it looks like it's exactly the same as before. There's so much detail in here that all those little square lines and jiggles get hidden in the detail. So if this photo had been all grasslands, I could have compressed it low and I would have gotten a small image. But unfortunately, we have this gradient that is the total giveaway, right? So let me see if I go down to 50%, if you can still see it. So you can see a little bit of both. Yeah, you can kind of still see it. Some photos you can't see it at 100%. This is pretty obvious that you can see it.
Can you tell me how you got the 24? You in the lower left,
24.
down that corner. The zoom down. 24.
That's Photoshop. I would have to cancel from here, and that's the whatever zooming I had into that one. So Command 1.
Okay, I'm gonna put it here.
I know that's I need to give you guys a grade, but let me just finish this one. So I'm going to head over to export as again, sorry, and show you that if I keep that amount of pixels, what we've basically decided, or what I've shown you, is that we're still not getting to the number I need, and yet I've lost quality. And as I said, this doesn't seem to change too much, but definitely you see it in the gradients, right? Okay, so let's all move back up to high, keep it in high, and move up to 50 at least at this point so that we can see a bit more of the two choices. Keep it in high. And now over here, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to go 2 up. And now we're gonna see the before and after. So this is gonna be our before where we don't compress, and this is gonna be our after where we compress as much as we can. Now, we need to first change our pixels because we're not gonna make it. See, that's an example of no matter how much compression we apply, with that many pixels, we're just not gonna get a very small file because that's a very big amount of pixels and it would be a fill the screen photo for any website. And we were told we only want 2,500 max. The designer decided why he wanted that number. So now it's going to be much easier. If you look over here, I'm at 5.9. I'm going to head over here and make the biggest one 2,500. Over here in width. And then you can hit the tab or you can just click on the next one and it automatically changes.
62.
I should have changed it ahead of time because I needed to do it to this one. So I'm going to go to this one. That's the preview. So the two up. Oh, I have them upside down. I have the preview in front and never mind. We need to change the 2,500 to both of them because I had gotten to do this before. So both of these need to go to the same size, right? Now, the moment we have that size taken care of, 2,500, look how automatically we went from 5.6 to 2.7. Because we truly have, it's like you grab a photo, you cut it in half. Well, now it weighs half. You've taken those pixels out, which is why it's important to export this. You want the original image to still have all of its pixels, but here we have truly said, okay, get rid of 25, whatever, how many pixels have to go to get me 2,500 pixels. So we're truly taking information out of this photo. And Photoshop does that pretty well. It's called interpolation, downsampling, and it takes stuff out and does a really good job of giving you a smaller version of the same thing. Now, we
Can
have,
you zoom in on both of them?
what's that?
Can you zoom in on both of them?
Yeah, but first on both, I need to choose JPEG. Okay, let's choose JPEG on both. And then when you zoom in over here, I'm going to zoom in to 200. Let's see if 50% will do it and it works for both. And then I'm going to go up to the sky. So here I'm seeing one version and another version. Okay. And down here you can see that it says that number, and over here you see it says that number. Now we're going to grab one of them and we're going to begin to compress and look at that sky and see when that sky begins to look bad. So if you're paying really good attention, here I'm beginning to see some banding, right? This is my normal, so to say, not compressed, my high quality, and this is me beginning to see that compression. I'm going to go down a bit more, and now I'm really seeing that compression, but let's head all the way up to low. Even at its worst, where I get that kind of worse compression, am I down to the 193 KB, to the 150 KB yet? No. So 150 KB is very, very small. 2,500 pixels for a website is not very small. This is still filling a big chunk of your screen. So this is the battle between size and quality. If I really had to submit this at 150 KB total size, I'd say I have to choose another photo, a photo that doesn't have a gradient. Does that make sense? Because you just cannot do that. On the other hand, if this is going to be a little thumbnail, right? If we were to take another 1,000, let's just make this be only 1,000 pixels, 1,000 and pixels. And then, yeah, this looks a little bit funky at low quality, but it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as before, right? Because, well, actually I need to go up to 100%. I took by at 1,000 pixels, I got down to 39 KB. So now I go, oh, well, I don't need to, when I have only 1,000 pixels, I don't need to go so low. So I can start going up again and going up again. And I'm at 117 and I go up again to 178. So I'm somewhere in between 4 and 5. Right? So let me go, before we could be very careful, we could be very gradual with this. Now you jump from 4 to 5, which I don't like that because that means 117 or 178. I can't put in 150. I don't know why they don't allow this slider to be very precise anymore. I really don't understand why that change was made. So anyway, if I go for 178, I can be at a 5 compression only, and look at how nice that sky looks. And I got to the size I want, but why? Because I dumped more pixels. So of course, the more you cut out, the more chance to make it smaller, right? Now this hasn't happened yet. So if I go, well, no, I really needed 1,500 pixels, you can still change it. This hasn't happened yet, okay? So it's not like you're doing anything irrevocable. Until you say, okay, your export, you can say, okay, what if I go to 1,500? If I go to 1,500, I'm at 314. So in this one, maybe I do need to go down again, right? So I'm at 195. One more down. I can go down to 3 compression. I'm 135, and the sky is not looking too bad. So you got to keep looking at the choices, and you can shift one or the other and find the right spot where that image still looks about as good as it's, you know, as you think it's going to look. Again, as I said, always, if I'm trying to show this as my beautiful art, my beautiful photograph, then I can't compress a lot. But if it's just a little photograph, then it's going to have a big sign on the top saying, visit the grasslands. And in the bottom, it's going to have a box that has a little text that says, you know, vacation, you know what I'm trying to say? Hey, you can hide a lot of that kind of stuff. So it all depends about what your use is going to be for the photograph, how much you're going to dare compress it. Anyway, so let's assume that this one, 3, which is a lot of compression, but with 1,500, which made it to 135. So that's the one that we want, right? We're ready to export. And if I go down here,
What is resolution up here?
the word resolution doesn't exist here because for the web, we don't use resolution. So this one isn't for your case. Your case was for print. This case is for the website, whereas you can see this is export to the web. The word resolution is not even part of the conversation. It's resolution is pixels per inch. Inch is a paper measurement or a real word analog measurement. It's not a measurement for the internet, for the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and notice that automatically the convert to sRGB is turned on as an automatic choice. And I had said that I wanted sRGB because if you're going to the internet, that's the mode that the internet is used in. That's what browsers read. But be careful, because if you don't want this to go to the web, you might need it to be whatever it used to be, and it used to be RGB. So you want to make sure not to have this automatically there. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and say export. Now, when you do an export, so now I hit the export. If this image, if I don't change the name, then I'm going to end up with
Save as content aware, fill and scale.
replaced or something like that. And now that was an HEIC, so if I save it as a JPEG, it might not replace it. But also, what if this same photo I'm making at 1,500 pixels, at 2,500 pixels, at 300 DPI, if I'm making versions of it? So you should always write, have some way of writing, and I like to write an idea of which version of this is. So I'm going to go, I'll put the pixel, so I'm going to go 1,500 PX, right? And even it's only one size, but it's the one that you always mention. The other one, it will always just fall into a smaller number. And then I'll put a dash and I'll say what compression. And I really don't like that this only gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 compression. But at this point, I'll put 3 QTY for quality, or QY, depending. That's just how I do it. And that I'll know what this means. I'll know for what this now. If I already have if it's my own website and I know this is gonna be my, footnote photo, or it's gonna be in my header, or it's gonna be, like, if I already know where it's headed, you can also add that to it, right? But for now, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and if you're on a Mac, you want to click on this little arrow to get the bigger size, and I'm going to, I believe my class files were in my downloads still. Yeah, Photoshop for web design classes. So now when I say save, this one remains untouched. That was just one version of export. And I can go and export 3, 4, 5 versions of this. And there's a way to do it on a website that and I'm not going to do that right now with you guys. But one thing you didn't notice is that this is one version. I could also add to export another version from here and another version, and I end up 3 different versions of this. And so anyway, right now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go take a break. But if I go back to Bridge, now I have 2 of these. And in Bridge, they look the same, but see how different their metadata looks. This one is 4,000 pixels. It's RGB. This one, on the other hand, is 135 KB. I told it to save as, did I turn off? At the last
Why
minute?
does that have sRGB and RGB on it?
The other one is the color mode, and there's color profile. Remember that underneath, I don't want to wait too long to give you guys a break otherwise, but underneath here, you had color space RGB and color profile. So it's referring to each one of these. So right now, I'm going to cancel that, and over here in Bridge, it's telling me, where was it? This one, that it's converted to sRGB and RGB. I'm going to go back to the metadata over here.
Oh, no, I have another question.
And now it's ready to fit within these things, but I had to go to 1500. I could have probably gone a bit big to that 2000 and compressed a bit more, but I don't think that sky would have taken much more compression, to say the truth. Anyway, so that's how you choose your photos. Not every photo will work. As I said, this photo, you could make it really, really teensy weensy and it's all detail. So you would never see the compression in that. It would still look good. You could probably have gotten away with the full 2500 and still have made it be 150 KB. So not all photos fit the same work. You need to go through that process. Did everyone get their photo saved? So if you didn't yet, I see that's there yet. So go down to the export. Okay, so go over here. If you were still in the export as, make your choices as to what you want it to be. We had changed the pixels. I believe the last one was 1500. JPEG down to 3. I think that's the last one we chose. Once you have those choices set up there, convert to sRGB, then say export at the very bottom. And that's where you get to write whatever names you wanted. I'm not going to save on top of it, and then say save. I'm not going to save another one. The whole goal is that when you go back to Bridge that you have 2 of them. Now, I'm going to look at the clock. We're going to do, let me stop my share. If you have any questions about it, ask me after the break. What time is it right now? 7:18. We're going to take 15 minutes. So help me here. That's 7:33. Is that right? Be back by 7:33 p.m.
Daylight saving.
Oh, it's 7:19. So back by 7:34 p.m. All right. See you guys in 15.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, my. I've
There
been,
you are.
yikes, I've been here all this time and you guys didn't hear me nor see me. I'm so sorry. I've been talking and doing stuff. I'm glad you said something. I forgot to unmute and uncover my videos, but since I started sharing, you guys noticed it, but I was telling people to go and post and I was helping people hear how to do their posts. So I'm glad you said that. All right, so I'm gonna do this and publish. What's up? Command, Shift Command 4. I'm just gonna post these. Yeah. Go to the, oh, you have to go to your hand. Hold on. Let me upload this and then I'll put the details. You have to go back to your, in order to get to the, go to your handouts. Go over here to class files. And go to share drive. Recording links. And there's the- There you go. So, you can post later if you want. I'm gonna keep going, but anyway, and I'm gonna rewrite some stuff in here, but anyway, thanks, just a couple of you guys have posted. Let me refresh to see, but hopefully more than that. Oh, still only 2 of you guys. So I guess you need some help with posting, right? So, yeah. Hold on, because Ed's hand was up and Barbara's hand was up. Is this about posting at all, both of you guys?
Nope.
No, okay, Barbara, is this about posting? If it's no, I'm gonna go help someone here who's asking about posting.
No, it's not.
Okay, so then hang out 1 second. Yeah. Oh, we would have to compose it in Photoshop. Yeah, so yeah. So to get to the link, you have to get to the padding link, you have to go into your email. No, I post it, and then so how do you photo? Okay, and then you're there. Okay, and you're on your way. Okay, good. Okay. All right, so now let's answer question. So Barbara, you were first.
When you have a small, well, I have a few questions. When I work in Photoshop, if something has a sRGB color space, I always change it to RGB before I start working on it in Photoshop. I don't know why I do that.
No, I mean, depends on what your end purpose for that photo is, right? So you wouldn't want to willy-nilly change it without knowing where it's going. If it's sRGB and you're gonna keep it on screen, you might as well keep it at sRGB.
Okay.
If it's going to be for print, RGB is better. Do I have them in these handouts? Let me see. Do you have the color spaces? I don't know that I put them in this.
Yeah, I think
I'm just sharing. I'm just trying to see whether, yeah, I have the color wheels. Let me go to Bridge. Let me, while everyone's posting their, I'm looking for the, there we go, share. Okay, so in the, I was looking at class files, but you can see it in Bridge too. So here I have a couple of different, oh, but these are the color wheels. Oh, this is not,
MyK flattened.
oh, it's not the color spaces. I didn't bring the color spaces to this. It's no difference. No, this is not what I needed to show you. I need to get color spaces. Well,
What did you want to show?
the handouts.
And what were you wanting us to see in color spaces?
I'm just thinking that I have some handouts that I've provided you too, that it must be in there. but let me see. I wanted to show you the different colors. Spaces. Didn't I download that today? Open date.
I thought I had downloaded something. I hadn't printed it out yet, having to do with it, but
I have,
print output. No, that's not it.
I'm opening you guys can't see, but I'm opening let me reshare. A PowerPoint that I have made for this class. And I'm trying to see if I have the color units here. No. I go into the color spaces at all. Interesting. Nope, I don't have it in this one. So. Okay, I don't have it in this one. Maybe if I do a quick search, I'm just trying to explain to you, compare RGB and sRGB color mode, not really color space, but anyway. So let me go over here and see if this has the photos. Better because it's showing me. So anyway, it's small. I can't open that thing without, I'm trying to just find the graphs. Okay, so anyway.
Well, I know they're different.
Yeah,
just,
but you might know that, but a lot of other people don't. So I just want to show you a little bit. Let me see if this helps. No, they're too small. Okay, I'll look up some good example of images and then I'll bring them out for next time. Okay, so yeah, for the basic answer here is that RGB has a wider gamut than sRGB, but there's that, sRGB is the gamut that the internet browsers respond to and shows it better. So that's why we're using that for the internet, but you wouldn't do that for printing a photo. But anyway, I'll bring some more information about that next time. For now, I also wanted to refer you a little bit to this one, which you have this in your handouts. I'm going to start from here. Okay, let me stop this share. Yeah, you had a question, Ed?
Yeah, so when you were showing how you could actually create multiple versions in the export,
Yeah,
can that be saved either as a preset or an action inside Photoshop?
in the same export as,
Yeah, so when you did your export as,
yeah,
you set up, there's one, but now you created another one, then you created another one, then you created another one.
mhm.
And you save those as a preset so you can use that every time you want to export that whole set.
Well, yes and no, because as I said, these presets you can't because each photo needs its own, ideally, its own treatment. I mean, a lot of people just go ahead and apply 6 to everything, right? Which you'll never go wrong, but it isn't as small as you can get it. But over here, this is kind of a preset, and that this is the 1x. When you do another one there, it goes to half the size. When you go plus, it's 75% of the size, 25% of the size. These are already there. You choose, you can go twice the size. So these are kind of like already presets as to how you want them to post. Does that make sense? I'll explain that a little bit more when we're talking about the images and what sizes they need to be for the different responsive versions. But so these are kind of presets already, right? If you don't want this one, you just trash that and go for that one, or you select it and you choose which size you want over here directly.
But if I went back right now and I changed images and now I tried to export a different image, those wouldn't be there.
That wouldn't be there, but you could do that to images again and again and again. Each image that you.
That's kind of losing the automation feature if you're having to do it over every time.
Oh, well, no, you can do that. But you can do that, you can batch them, right? Right now, that's treating one image that I'm showing you, but you can batch them. I just wanted to, I stopped my share, but let me share again. But I just said export to all of that. I wasn't particularly paying attention to which one I was saying export to, but here I am in my bridge, and it exported all the different versions that I wanted. And if you look at the sizes here, this is my 2x, so it went from 4,000 to 8,000 pixels. This one is my it was 0.75x, so it gave me an information based on the first one. Here I hadn't taken off 2,500 or anything. I just went and saved these four, so that's half the size. So this is my 4,000, my original. The half the size saved first at 2,000 pixels. The second one at a quarter, so it went to the 1,000 pixels. See what I mean? It just did them for me. All I did was click on that. Now I could batch that kind of work. You can batch process from Photoshop itself. You can batch process, but I believe you can batch process directly from Bridge for this information. I don't have it. Here we go. So you can just, I haven't batch process in a while, so I don't know that you could create different versions of it. I do know you can create different namings and stuff, but I'm not sure right now that you can create from here 2 or 3 different versions. So let me look into that, because usually I batch from inside of Photoshop. But anyway, I'll look into that. Can you
All right,
send me
thank
an
you.
email about that so that I can check? Yeah, because you can apply the presets and just have them all export. Like you can do this, but I don't remember how right now to get the 5 different sizes without doing the export as. Can you export as a few at a time? If I were to say these 2 and I want to do the same process, custom export. So I just selected 2 different ones. I go to my custom export and yeah, image format, embed original files. Yeah, here it is. I believe image resize. I think here's where you can have them all go out to a different size. Yeah, because right now I exported, I got 2 different ones. See that? And so I could create over here a batch export, and here it's saving them both as DNG. Say I wanted to make them as JPEG, and I want them all to be, say, 6%. I can't see, there's no preview setup. And then I have skis, 100%. What I don't see is whether I can do 5 different ones at a time. I can do resize to whatever I want it to be. But I don't think I can get 5 of these at the same time. I can reset these to come out.
Yeah, let's not worry about it right now so you can get into the class. But,
No, but that's something I want to know as far as Bridge, if it can do there. So anyway, right now you can do that. In a way, the 5 sizes that you can export to, that is kind of automated, but I can only see how to do it on one at a time. Okay, so guys, hopefully by now you've finished posting your stuff to the Padlet, which is over here. Okay, I'm seeing quite a few more posts from you guys. Okay. Rebecca, Manuel, Julia, but so I'm still not seeing everyone up there. Rand, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, down there. Okay, sorry. I was looking at the top line. There we go. And Linda, and Paulo. Yeah, okay, great. Let's head back to Photoshop. We're gonna leave that one. Well, we don't need to leave that. Let's just close this one, which you might notice is still the original after all we did. And I just shot out 5 more in that little sample. this one hasn't changed, okay? So I'm gonna close this one. And to say, do you want to save any changes? No, because there's nothing here I don't want to lose what this original one has, or especially if I had done anything to it, added changes, gave it a different color, sky, or taken out that reflection of the window, or had I worked on it, you want to keep that layered file always as your master file, or at least your original file as your master file. And anything else that you create is additional to that. All right, so we have a little bit more time. I'm going to begin to show you a little bit about art. Trying to see if I should show you about I haven't really shown you that much about layers yet to begin to show you right now. I'm trying to think. Okay, I'm going to go back to what I was going to do anyway. So yeah, let's grab this photo here. Image 1754, which by the way, from Bridge, you can change the name. So you can change this one to lily pads or whatever these things are called, right? You can change that in here by clicking on that, or you can right click and rename it. You can actually batch rename. I wonder if you can do that with the, anyway, never mind. So now let's open it up. So you should all still have this one. This is the one that when we first started, we created this pink flowers. Remember that one? So I'm wondering if it's better, since we already did that one. Do y'all find this one? Do y'all have the one that we turned black and white?
Someplace.
Have it open, go ahead and open that one too. Maybe that'll make it a bit easier to give you the example that I want to give you. Is that good? Y'all have it? Okay. So let's open this one. Maybe I'm gonna oscillate between one and the other. Let's go to this one. That'll be simpler to give you the concept, and then we can go to the other one if we have time to do a different set. So this one, first we're gonna do artboards without any changes. Say this photo is final. It's finalized, it's ready to go. It's what we want. Over here, I already have the artboard tool, but if you guys don't, then head down to graphics and web in your
Why don't I have?
in your I've got my Bridge, hold on, my Photoshop is, I've got my Photoshop in the wrong spot. I need to move this out of the way.
Oh.
There we go. Okay, Photoshop. There we go. So go to the workspaces and make sure you choose graphic and web. If not, if you stay here in photograph, then remember, you can just click and hold and there's your artboard tool. But I'd rather you all go to the graphic and web so we have the same tools. All right, so there's the artboard tool. Now, let me, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. Okay, so let's select the artboard. And the first thing when you do, we have no artboards here. This is a layer. And the concept of artboards is so that we can have different formats, different layers available, different ways of showing the same thing. So say that we want to show this one to someone as a full-size photo, or we want to show someone with this as a banner where we only see a little thin bit of it, or as a tall and thin version. This is a very, abstract, generic in the sense that it could be anything, and that's why I'm applying it to this one. So the first thing we need to do is we need to convert this into an artboard to have it be our artboard that we have to start with. So when you click on this little, I call it like a little diving whale fish or whatever. It looks like a diving fish to me. But anyway, this little guy there, that's our artboard tool. So now I'm going to put like there where the two X's connect, like that's where I'm going to put my mouse, and I'm going to click and drag down to here. And I have turned this page into an artboard. And if you look over here, my layer is now called artboard 1. I'm going to do that again. So watch. Grab your tool, start from the top to the bottom. And when you let go, we have now in the layer side of the world, I have this thing called Artboard 1. You might notice that I have plus signs all over. I can go ahead and use one of those plus signs, or I'm kind of moving things over to the side. Instead of using one of those, I can just click. There's so many different ways of doing this, but I can just click and drag and create an artboard that's like tall and thin. So here's another artboard. And if I look over there, it's an artboard that's empty. There's nothing in it. I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and select this artboard again. And let's move back over here. I'm gonna select my artboard tool again. Let's just leave it at that. Let's have these two artboards. First, I'm gonna show you the simple way. Okay, does everyone have two artboards? Let me do that again if you didn't see how. I just click and drag and make another artboard. You see how the pink, smart guides are helping me make sure they'll make it at least the same height. And then I let go. Another way I could have created this is by clicking this plus sign there, but if I click a plus sign, it'll give me one identical. So I'm going to click a plus sign and now have a third one, but it's identical to the one I had. And then I could just grab the corner here and just resize it to make it like long and thin, for example. Long and, not long,
Sorry, but I'm-
wide and short. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna come and help. So let's do that. Now we have three artboards that are in existence. Okay, so we have that's the you already created one artboard. Okay, so now with that tool in hand, move over here and click and drag and draw. So click from the top. Okay, yeah, and then click, drag. There to the right, a bit wider, very tall and thin one, but there you go. Okay. And then the other one that I made was just wide and short. Okay,
Hi, Anna.
yes,
How did you get artboard 3 to be on its side?
okay. So I just, first of all, I could have just drawn it that way, but instead I decided to show you that I could also just click a little plus sign and you get an identical one. Had I done a plus sign there, I would have got a big one. And then you treat it as an object that has little handles. And I just grabbed it from the corner and just changed its shape to be wide and thin.
I tried to rotate it, didn't see any rotating things.
Yeah, no, you can reshape it, or you can click and drag and draw a long and thin one. You know, that's another way. But now that it's still got its little handles, I could grab these handles and make it thinner or higher. But yeah, there's no rotating. Okay. All right. So now I've got my three artboards. And I'm going to go back to the move tool. We don't want these artboards alive, so to say. We want to leave this by going back to the move tool. And then now when we click on some black neutral area, you'll see that we don't have, unless we click on the background, we don't have those handles on anymore. So now we have three artboards. Okay. I'm going to go down a little bit so you can see the three artboards. Everyone have three artboards? All right. So actually, this is not a bad idea if you want to do a little screenshot, because if this is something you've never seen, this might even help you. Do a little screenshot of your artboards and the layers that's right at the artboards to see that there's one has something and the other two have nothing. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to put this same photo into that artboard and into that artboard, and they will just appear to be in a different proportion. In Photoshop, you could not have different proportions of the same things if you stay in one canvas. That's all you have. The rest would be transparency, but now the artboard can be this. So there's, again, so many ways to do this. One way to do this would be simply to select this. Oh God, what would be the easiest way? There's like plan A, plan B. I think the easiest one would be to do this, which is a copy paste. So let me show you. You select this bottom layer and you copy. I always do Command C, Control C, but I think could you do a right click? No, could you do a right click here for copy? No. All you can do is shortcut, or maybe you can go up to edit copy. I mean, you should be using shortcuts anyway. Yeah, I guess you can do Command C. You can do an edit copy if you want.
Yeah, I get that, select subject.
So go over here to where it says Artboard 1 and click on these thumbnails. That's it. Now copy, Command C. Now we're gonna go to Artboard 2. We'll make this one live in our layers. And now we're gonna paste, which is Command or Control V. V, or you can go up to edit, paste right there. And then we can do again, go to Artboard 3 and Command paste, and we have our third one there. Now, let me zoom in a little bit. Now we have this same photo, not on 3 layers. It's not like before where when we have layers there on top of each other doing things to themselves. Rather, these are 3 independent layers. Give me a second.
Screenshot, I'm sorry.
Screenshot. Oh, yeah, screenshots are over there. Here you have 2 in a row, so let's get the first. You're not doing the same exact thing, so go ahead and say, there's that one. So you have 1 first, and say, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you've never done this before, it's not a bad idea to keep doing screenshots and then just post a couple of them. Let me do
know
that
what I
one here.
did
I'm gonna do the screenshot right here. Shift Command 4, and then I'm gonna do that. Okay, so these artboards, there's so much we can do with them. I'm gonna show you in a second, but for now, since we all did really quickly add a black and white adjustment layer over here, you'll see that the adjustment layers goes above, right? And then we masked it and we do the whole thing. But right now I just want to do an adjustment layer that goes above. But we're going to do it here so you can see that these are truly not layers, even though one see them here. Each one is an individual set. So I'm going to select the first one, leave it as is, like nothing happened. Select the second one right there, layer 2, layer 1. And I'm going to add an adjustment layer to this one. Oh, I see some hands up there. Are those hands old hands that I didn't bring down, Barbara and Ed, or are they new hands?
It was an
Well,
old hand.
You too, Ed? Okay, sorry about that. I just looked up and saw them and I went, yikes, I don't want to have them in ignoring you. Okay, so now,
Can I ask you a quick question?
yes, of course.
Where did this lily pond photo come from?
Oh, that's mine. It's in Oregon. I was on my
No,
kayak.
no. I mean, I had it on my computer. I do not have it anywhere on my computer.
Oh, it's in the
Yeah.
class files.
It's not in my class files that's on my computer. That's why I was wondering where
It's
where to go to try to
the
get
first-
it
Did you
again.
do the first one with that we made it black and white the first day? Oh, because the first day you worked here in class.
Yeah, she,
Maybe you left.
That's it.
Yeah, you didn't download your class files to your computer.
Okay, thank you. I told you I'm dizzy. That's why I
It's
went.
weird. Listen, do this with any of your photos. You don't need to get
Okay.
the class files right now. This is not about the photo. I mean, you say, where did you get this? I'm like, well, in Oregon.
the Japanese garden in Portland.
Man, I've been going through these
I
my
wish.
photos
No,
and
no.
folders.
This is a wild lake in the middle of nowhere that we were kayaking in. That we had we've gone other times to the it's like an inlet. It's like a river part of the lake, like the inlet. And we discovered that it was all in bloom. It was amazing. At one point I wanted to get too near to one and I went on a little dock and I fell into them. So anyway, it was not so fun. Fortunately, I didn't, but yeah, no, it's this gorgeous flowers. It was beautiful. I'd never seen that here. And my mom loves lotus flowers from like the Japanese, the real type. And so these aren't those, It's like a, if you want wild homegrown version, but it was so gorgeous. And so I took a lot of photos of them to send her. Anyway, just straight from my, I mean, I'm in the kayak, right? I don't have my good equipment. It's just straight my phone. And at that point, it's probably my iPhone 12. Yeah. I don't remember. So anyway, let's select the second layer, the second not layer, the second artboard, even though it says layer 1, layer 2. Now these are individual things. So I'm going to go select my layer 2. Okay, so make sure everyone to click right there in that layer. And now I'm going to add an adjustment layer to this one. So I'm going to head down to this little circle that's, you know, white on top and, sorry, black on top and white on the bottom. Click on that. And I'm going to choose a hue saturation adjustment layer. Wait, Manuel, you still have to put your things in there. So give me a second. Now, hue saturation layer. I'm going to drag this here around and make something totally different, that bright, bright pink, mainly to show you truly this is its own thing. It's not that this is on top of both of them. It's like this is one file, and that is one file. See what I mean? For those of you, go over to this last one and do the same thing. Let's just do another one, another color. Okay, so each one of these has its own treatment. Nothing on this one, something on that, and something on that. Okay, I'm gonna go help something here, and then yes, take this screenshot. So we get this, go ahead and let's undo that. Because I want to first copy this, so say, the other shortcut for copying.
I've been lost all night because I forgot I was
You're on a map.
in the classroom. I wasn't finding anything I was looking for.
You did a command C? Okay, so now do command B.
Oh,
There it is.
bring Photoshop.
Now select your work. Select it first. It's in that one. Click. Good. Now, paste, which is in. So now you have one that's equals, okay? You have one. This one's really tiny, by the time you get to the bottom one. All right. Now, yes, you can add, wait, the hue saturation that you were adding, we went to, we can do it to the third one first, so go down to that, select saturation. And go to saturation. Right there. Good, and then just grab this triangle and there and that little one is what you're targeting. See how it changes color? Make it some obnoxiously different colors. Good. Now select this one from artboard 2. Select your artboard 2. Okay, and then go down and make another exactly the same adjustment layer. Layer, hue saturation right there. And then move that around to give it a different color, and that's where we're at. Okay. So, so this is very different than layers, right? For those of you who've been working on layers. That said, here I'm telling you that this is for design. But in reality, you could also decide to try this. Those of you who are sometimes wondering about, what if I process this photo this way or that? Well, you can have one set in one artboard of processing it in one way and another artboard where you process it in a different way, 2 different sunsets, and to see which one is better. Something that we can do in the Camera Raw developing image, which you guys haven't experienced yet. Well, you can do it this way with artboards inside of Photoshop too. So it's not just for design purposes. It's also a way to get 2 different versions of something going. So this is at its basic level, an example of that, how to work with this. So maybe this is going to be a banner on the top of the page, and this is going to be a little strip on the side, and you're just developing them in different ways. In reality, let's go ahead and save this. If you do Command S, the computer knows that it's not able to be saved as a JPEG. So even a basic Command S comes out as a save as, and it's going to save it as a layered file. Now I want it to appear next to image 1745 in my bridge, so I'm just gonna add to it after that. I'm gonna say _3 artboards, sample kind of thing. And then I'm going to save. Whenever you get maximize compatibility, always say okay. And when I go to bridge, I'm gonna have it right here. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. So here you go. I have my original, and then I have this one, which has the 3 versions, if you want, the 3 artboards. This is just a sample of 3 artboards. Is everyone there? Any questions? Let's go ahead and make sure that you have a chance to post that. Let's head over to this place. Oh, you guys are preempting me. You're already posting this, so good. 3 art boards with different adjustment layers. And I'm gonna put this little last one. All right. Now. Come on. There you go, publish. All right. When we go to bridge, there's already an example, I'm looking at the time, we're fine, created for you with a more concrete explanation or example of using these 3 artboards, which is up here in the folder called artboards. Okay, Manuel, you can post it later. That screenshot after we're done, you can go up and post it. I'll stay behind and help you guys post. But now go back to bridge, everyone. This is for everyone who's still posting. Hang in there. Let's go back to bridge. I'm conscious of the time. I want to make sure we all get to do this. And double click on the word artboards. And now we're going to open this file called assets.psd. I could just had it in the main deal. So you're all with me now? Did you open it? Go ahead and open it. Okay, so first let me analyze this image for you guys. So this is like a design for a phone app, for example. This is the version that you would see as the main page with the phone in vertical position, so to say. And that's the formatting. And there's a sign it, submit page. So say that that's just you want to propose a couple of different pages for the sign up page. And so if you notice, I'm going to move this up a bit for those of you who haven't seen many layers before. I can actually double click on the property. So this has all these layers: ocean, rocks, waves, KI logo, sign up and sign in. Sign up and sign in are very visible, but there. I'm going to just turn ocean and rocks and waves off. And this here has to remain on all versions, right? On all the photos, on all the different documents. But we're going to have one is going to have the wave background. The other one has the rock background, and the other one's going to have the ocean background. Okay. So ocean, rocks, and wave. And this is the best we could do in the past. If you wanted to show this to a client, you would have to do this. You'd have go, well, that's one, that's another one, that's another one, which, you know, is okay, but we would have to do a screenshot of that or a JPEG of this, a JPEG of that, show the 3 JPEGs. Now, if you're trying to have maybe a choice of one, or maybe you'll have 3 different sign-ins coming in from different places. Some websites are different depending on how they land. But let's just say that you're presenting this to a client and we want to decide which is the photo that's going to be used as the hero image, is what we call the main one, the background of a page. So let's create these as artboards. Each one will be one artboard. So let's head over to the artboard tool. It's my alarm saying 15 more minutes. We're going to get this done in 15 minutes. No, it's not 15 minutes. It's, what time is it? What time is, oh, the class finishes at, oh, 8:35. My brain was going to 8:45. Is it 8:35? Okay, so then it is 15 minutes. Yikes, my brain, I kept looking up at the 45. Okay, so we'll do this quick. So let's go ahead and put our mouse here at the top. Sorry, our artboard tool here at the top, and we're gonna just click and drag and make this be the first artboard. And I did that wrong. I clicked a little bit too high up. So now I can just drag this down, and that's my first artboard. And if I look over here, all of these are layers inside of my artboard one, right? And what I can do, instead of just having them be called artboard one, I can change the name and call this one wave, for example. So I can double click, or I can right click and rename, or I can just double click the artboard and call this one wave. I could have done it over here too. I'm going to call this one wave. I'm going to click and drag. Now, if I want to, I can select, create a new one, copy the stuff into the next one, or I can just hover over this little plus sign. And when I do that, if I actually notice that if it says add new artboard or option click to also duplicate the contents. And yes, I want that same logo, that same sign up, that same sign in. So I'm going to hold on my option. And if this is a PC, it would be the Alt. And then I click the plus sign and I get two of the same things. And then I'm going to do that one more time. I got three of the exact same thing. Now, if I collapse wave copy 2 and collapse wave copy 1, I'm down to the first one. I'm gonna just change these names, and I'm gonna call the second one rocks. And I'm gonna go ahead and don't worry too much about the names. I'll come and help you in a minute. And the third one I'm gonna call ocean. It could be ocean. So just watch this piece so I can finish the idea, and then you can all work on it at your own pace. So on this one, on wave, I don't need the rocks and the ocean. So I can select them both. And I'm going to click select two together, click shift click, and I can drag them to the trash, or I can say right click, delete layers. And so on the wave one, we only have the wave on. When I open the rocks one, I can get rid of wave and ocean. Just showing you the whole thing, and then I'll go in and I can delete layers this way. I can take them into the trash. That's my rock. And then my ocean, I can delete these two, and I can also trash this way, taking them to the little trash. So now I have 3 samples of the opening app of my sign-in page. Does that make sense? It's the same 3 top things. Each one has sign in, sign up, and logo. Those 3 are there, but all we've changed is we have this last one be a different photo. We could have done it so many ways. That little plus sign copied all the contents. I find it easier to do that and to trash the rest. We could have also just copy pasted like we did the background with this photo. Sorry, I guess I close it. This one. We could have just selected there all 5 layers, say copy, and then paste them into the artboard 2, and then into artboard 3. So there's, all different ways to do the same thing. But the end product is that you can go and show these, and the client can go, well, our ocean on our side of the world isn't green, it's blue, so let's do that one. Or yeah, I don't tour in the ocean. My tourists are being taken to the outback, and I do that. Notice that depending on what you do, the sign in and sign up is more or less visible. So we'd have to change that, right? But you might want to have that decision later. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I see a few people who got it done, a few people who are really not too sure about it. I'm going to go ahead and open 2 of these, and let's do a screenshot of that. And I'm going to go and give a hand. And I'm hoping you have questions. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and save as, not save over it, because if I save over it, then my original is this one. So I'm gonna say assets dash 3 versions. Or something like that, because it was already a PSD. So that when I say save to that one, I'm gonna have the one and then the version with 3. Now I'm gonna go around helping. If a lot of you need help, I will do it again up front. If not, I'll help individually. Okay, that's great. So we got 3. Yeah, because the other 2 we just created blind, which is fine. We could have done it this way like we did before and then copy it in. This is what we did with the Lotus 4. What I showed you is a different, I'm gonna do Command Z a couple times. So I'll show you a just slightly different way with how I did it this time. Cool. Right, so now, this is still not an artboard, so let's first make it an artboard, scroll down again because you went, but you can go edit, undo one. Undo. So run the artboard. Undo this. Turn this one to this and bring it down so we don't need anything empty. Like we have to grab it from the little, no, the tip of your mouse has to touch. Yeah. No, because you didn't have a little tip of your mouse, so you're moving. The tip of your mouse has to be in the middle of that split. There. Now you can click and grab. You didn't have much frozen. There we go. Just you brought it up again. There. Like that. Perfect. So instead of, you could have done what you just did. Oh, you need the rocks. Bring the rocks. Rocks and bring them in to see how they can make the rocks. Yeah. And grab the ocean. Yeah, we're going to grab it and put it in the blue line. Yeah. Maybe you're not put it on so we can see it. Okay, and leave it not in between those, but between the payload one. There. Now grab the ocean. This. There, there. So now you have one. Okay. Now. What? Yeah, we're all see. Now you can duplicate all of this. Go ahead and select your update form. Like we did before, just copy and pasting it. Or go ahead and click in here so that you can make them light up the summary. You can make it just by doing that, okay, but if you just do plus, it'll give you one file. So hold down the option key first. And then click plus. You can do everything. And then one more time. And then you have 3 times. Now you can go to artboard 2, for example, and turn off ocean wave.
What is that?
My God, like fish followed me around. While you were smitten with me, I tried to get dream of the ocean, waves from the oceans crashing.
Alarm.
I put songs instead of. I usually have like. It drove me crazy. Okay, so the problem here is that you're seeing the one that's on. You need to
turn off the eyeball, bring it down again. So we're only seeing the top one. So if we want to see the wave on one, that's good. Turn off raw, so get rid of it. Now we'll delete the one that you are using. That's- So I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next one. Down to the top. And this one, oh, we moved the ocean. Okay, so let's add this ocean. And now you get rid of ocean. I can do that in the rocks. Or leave them off for now. Let's go to the bottom and we'll get rid of them later. You can't have it be on top, turn it on, you'll see why. If you turn it on now, you're gonna hide everything that's under it. So you need, that's why you need to turn it on so you can see it. That's the one that's missing. And now you have to scroll up a bit more so that you can grab the ocean and put it under this stuff, right? So under the logo of the site. There you go. So now each one has only one of the photos. How's it going, you guys? So, now if you can clean it up by going in and deleting the layer that you don't need on each one, or you can keep all three there and just have an eyeball on one or the other. And yeah, so any ideas, questions, comments? Nope. Is that good? Is that cool? Is that like, ugh, why in the world are you showing me this? What do you guys think?
I think it's cool.
Do you see any possibilities there?
I
Or,
don't know how you got the three.
It makes it a lot easier than you make multiple pages all at once, but the same.
yeah, and in this case, it's 3 samples of the same thing that you're trying to show the client which one should be used. Or you truly are designing 3 different things. But remember, when I open this one, the same technique is this example where, hold on. I say, okay, where in this example, these are 3 artboards. One is this long and thin one, right? Really long and thin, which is showing that this is middling and this is shorter and fatter. These are 3 artboards. If you look over here, I'm going to click on large, medium, and that's it. This is one that's, if I turn the eyeball off, this is your small size with all of the layers inside that make that. It's a ton of layers to make this. This is a complicated file, but it's all contained in one artboard. You can turn that off, and that's the medium one. Same amount of layers, but placed in different ways, right? Or the large one with same amount of layers and placed a different way. This isn't an easy file. I'm not expecting us to walk out of this class with this file. But in the end, if you look at this, this is the same, like the same things that repeat. You turn on and off in one, you resize, you put it in a different way. But in the end, it's 3 artboards equivalent. It's like the big grandmother of this one. Like this is the baby 3 artboards. Well, the real baby 3 artboards is this one. Then we have the toddler 3 artboards over here. And this is the big old grandmama. Is it easy to do this? No, you got to learn about a lot about Photoshop to get to this, but that's a goal, right? But you need to know you need to know different things. Like in Photoshop class, I teach you how to make this pineapple be beautiful, right? And or how to make that. Let me just zoom in. How to make the cutout of this woman be realistic or whatever, right? How to cut this pineapple out correctly. But the knowledge you need to create this is completely different. It's starting by knowing about artboards, right? And then all you need to do is bring in from different places, the pineapple that you fixed in Photoshop, and you'll resize it in 3 different sizes. You need to know how to make graphic things that are like illustrations, like these bands of color. And you put them wherever you put them, and then, you know, we have to insert some text. So I believe this is all fake text, is it? Or is it actually, no, this one is actually real text, in fact. Yeah, so they actually put real text. So if you look over here, we have the text for this one. So you just need to be able to understand about grouping things. And so here you've grouped all the articles. If I turn this in the medium one, so now we're looking at the medium one. And if I turn the articles on and off, there it is. That's the articles section. Then meet our ambassador. If I turn this eyeball on and off, it's that one. So it's like you're creating in blocks and chunks, and then you're moving them into different, so you create it all in one. You probably created it all in here first, right? And then, or you started with, you'll find out that the better place to start is actually in the small one, because most people look at websites in the small version now in their phones. And then you enhance them into the other 2 sizes and you put them in a different place. But you don't create this 3 times. You've created already, you've decided the colorway, the style, the text, everything. And you just need to put it in a different place, move it around. So I don't want to scare you by showing you this one, just show you what's possible. But this isn't all the techniques that I've been teaching you in Photoshop, how to enhance it. It's rather this photo has been enhanced and is beautiful. And now we have that. We have this perfect pineapple. And now we export the perfect pineapple out of all the layered bands that made this pineapple perfect. And now we just need to bring it in here. And this is more of a piece together, all the parts and pieces that have to do with designing. Now, not everyone does mock-ups in Photoshop. You can just grab a pencil and mock it up. But when you're talking to someone who isn't very creative or artistic, client, and you say, you show them a paper sketch of what you want it to be, they'll go like, what are you showing me? I don't know. But if you show them this, they can see, oh, that's what it's going to look like. So depending on the level of work that you're doing, if you're just working with Wix or Squarespace or one of those, you might just start putting things together and showing it. But when you do that, there's going to be less thought than if you've planned out the sections as we start learning more about websites and understand the parts and pieces. So right now, all I wanted to show you is the possibility of creating 3 different, very related. We use the same logo. And we use the same logo, the same text, the same everything. And these, like the sign in and sign up, I haven't taught you yet how to do that, but we use the same stuff everywhere. And all we change is we change the background. And we put them in 3 different types, right? This one can then become the sideways one and this one, the big one. But that was the goal of teaching you about Artboards, okay? Cool, so go ahead and save everything and close up. Barbara?
Oh dear. All right, is the video going to show exactly what you did to create the artboards and
Yep.
all that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I'll
Because
work on it a bit more next Wednesday. We
I've been lost because
you don't have the fun.
I couldn't find the stuff. I didn't have it down.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and go to the class files by Wednesday. And when you get into the Photoshop for web design, there it is. These are the class files. Right click and download these onto your computer. Or if you
I've got them now.
You got them now?
Okay, in Photoshop, up at the top right, when you can go to Essentials, Motion, Painting, Photography, are
I
you
went-
graphic and web?
I went to graphic and web, yeah.
Okay.
That way the artboard tool shows automatically. But if you're in photography, you just need to go to the move tool and click and hold, and it's right under that.
No, I went up there and I changed that a while ago. But I'm gonna have to watch the video because
That's
I
fine.
was
We can
searching.
of this too, don't worry. Okay? I mean, this
Pardon
is
me?
the first time I show artboards and it's just really different, right? So yeah, don't worry. We'll get there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. there's people here too who are, you know, I basically pointed my finger step by step to everything they had to do. And, you know, you're alone back there, right? So don't worry, I'll help you get there.
Well, if I'm not dizzy, I'll drive out Wednesday. I
Oh.
don't want to drive.
Don't worry, all's good. Don't get intimidated by any of this. You don't know
Oh.
Photoshop well yet. I'm saying to
What?
everyone here. You're beginning to learn Photoshop. I'm just showing you tools. If you guys are going to learn Photoshop real well, you should take entire just full-on Photoshop classes and learn much more. This is showing tips and tricks that have to do with design, not really even web design in general in this case at this point, although it's pinpointed with the 3 different sizes of phone, laptop, and desktop to web design, but in reality, any design. Okay? Yeah, so, okay, yeah, don't shut down, go to log out. Go to the top and say log out. Okay, and I'm gonna stop the recording. Bye, Bud. Bye, Barbara.
Bye.
See you
Have
guys
a good evening.
on Wednesday. Bye. Hold on, I'm trying to do a quick screenshot because I need to put this on the recording.